Hello guys, welcome back to Car Obsession and welcome to another walk around. This time I'm joined by the brand new Cupra Leon, and my word, what a stunner it is. Could this well be the best looking brand new hot hatch right now? I think so. As always, I will take you around the car, talk you through the specification and give you my first impressions. The new Cupra Leon is available in 3 trim levels: VZ1, VZ2 and VZ3. I've got the VZ2, which is of course the mid-range one. In regard to starting prices, the VZ1 has a starting price of £32,005. The VZ2 has a starting price of £35,575, whereas the VZ3 has a starting price of £37,235. Now, it is worth noting, if you go for the VZ1, you do get a less powerful engine. Now, speaking of engines, let me show you the beast that lies underneath the bonnet. Sadly, the engine cover is rather uninspiring, as you will see in a few moments. That is the engine cover. Yes, it is very bland, very boring, and it gives very little away in regard to the pure power plant that lies beneath. It is the Volkswagen Automotive Group's EA888 engine, which is a 2-litre turbocharged 4-cylinder petrol, which offers 300 horsepower along with 400 newton meters of torque. If you prefer that to in pound-feet, that is 295. Now, in regard to performance, this will hit 62 miles per hour in 5.7 seconds, and the top speed is 155 miles per hour. Of course, it is limited to that speed. Now, unlike the Audi S3 and the Golf R, in the Leon, power is fed to the front wheels. However, if you go for the Cupra Leon Estate, you do get 4-wheel drive, and that means you get a bit more horsepower as well. You can't have a manual in this car, so you have to make do with a 7-speed DSG, which has a very stubby little gear selector. It is tiny. Oh, look how cute it is. Now, to be fair, the 7-speed DSG does work well, but it would be nice to have the option of a manual, because I am a die-hard manual fan. I just think it makes hot hatches so much more involving. So you'd have to excuse me, I'm struggling to get my words out today. Today's quite a rushed affair, but anyway, you don't really need to know about that. I don't want to bore you with my schedule. So yes, just take a few moments to have a look at how stunning this car is. No matter what angle you look at it from, it is just pure beauty. I love the sleek, muscular lines that run along the car. And like I say, it is fantastic to look at. This one is finished in the optional Desire Red. And yes, I do desire it because it's just a gorgeous car. Now, what do you get as standard on the VZ2? Well, I've got 19-inch alloys, which have a 2-tone finish. So you've got black with silver tips. I've got LED lights. Of course, I've got Cupra styling, a lowered ride height, sport suspension, keyless entry, tinted rear windows. I've got front and rear parking sensors, a reversing camera. Of course, you've got the quad exhaust pipes, which are very sexy, and you've got the rear diffuser as well. Sadly, those exhaust tips, if I haven't mentioned it already, I don't think I have, they are fake. The real exhausts are hiding behind, but I'm not too fussed about that. Zoom out. Now, if I take you inside the car, you'll see you get front sport seats that are finished in leather and fabric. The lighting will be a bit rubbish because it is quite a dark cabin. Yes, you've got the sport seats that come standard. If you go for the VZ3, this is leather as well, and the front seats are heated. And you also get a electronic adjustment for the driver's seat, if I'm not mistaken. You get Cupra kick plates, which look really nice. You do also get Cupra puddle lights, but of course, this is daylight, so you can't see them. Cupra mats, again, the lighting is really bad. I do apologise. I step inside the car. I'll take you off my little tripod thingamabob. May as well turn on the ignition. So you have to excuse all the fingerprints. One of the downsides of having a touchscreen is a fingerprint city. Let me just turn off the climate control, which is needed because it is very hot today. There we go. So yes, you get a 10.1 inch touchscreen with DAB radio, Bluetooth, smartphone connectivity and navigation. You also get park assist, a reversing camera, if I haven't mentioned that already. You get the digital cockpit as well, which is very nice to look at, and you've got different views. So for example, I don't think I can activate the views. Let me actually turn the engine on, which is by no means a bad thing to do. Ooh, hear that 2 litre purr into life. So yes, you've got a button on the steering wheel as it says view, and you can change the views. Won't let me do it because the door's still open, which means I have to close it. I don't want to, it's too hot for that. There we go. So as you can see, you've got the different ways you can view the cockpit. That's my preference because it's quite a classic look. Now, I've moaned about the touchscreen before. Let me turn the engine off for the time being. Now, I have moaned about the touchscreen before. If you've watched my content on the Cupra Formentor or the Seat Leon FR, I'm sure you've heard my gripes with it already. Now, it is a beautiful touchscreen to look at. I love the clarity, the definition, the vibrancy, the colours, but it isn't the most intuitive to use, and trying to use it whilst you're driving can be a bit of a faff. Now, in the defence of the system, the more you live with it, the easier it becomes to navigate your way around it. But to begin with, certain menus look quite cluttered. That looks fine, but for example, if I were to go into the, you've got quite a few different options. If I go into the, sometimes you've got all the bits at the top, all the bits at the bottom, and it can look just a little bit cluttered. Now, whilst I'm here, I may as well talk you through the drive profile. So you've got Comfort, Sport, Cupra or Individual. Not too sure why it's set to Sport and not Cupra, because it is normally. In Individual, you get, wait for it, 16 settings for the ride comfort. This car, as standard, comes with the DCC, which is the Dynamic Chassis Control, which in plain English means you get adaptive dampers. I do apologise, my camera work isn't very good because I'm looking at the screen on the actual touchscreen as opposed to the screen on my camera, so it's probably a bit shaky. All the doors about to close on me. It is a bit breezy today. Yeah, so you get 16. Sorry, can I turn that down? That clicking's really loud. There we go. So you get 16 different settings for the adaptive dampers, which one could argue is overkill, but it's better to have too many than not enough, I suppose. As let me go back into what else you can change in the Individual: steering, engine sound, ACC, air conditioning. Then you can reset everything. I will just reopen that door because it is sweltering today, and it's going to keep making that annoying noise because the ignition is switched on. Shh, be quiet. Yes, so you do get quite a bit as standard. One thing that is disappointing, so as I've mentioned, to get to the touchscreen, so to get to the driving modes, you have to go via the touchscreen. Now on the Golf GTI, you do have a touch sensitive panel somewhere here, and you have a dedicated shortcut for the driving mode. Also on the Cupra Formentor, you get a dedicated button on the steering wheel for the driving modes, but on the Cupra Leon, I don't get either, so you have to faff about with the touchscreen, which is a little bit disappointing. But like I say, the more you use it, the easier it becomes to navigate. You kind of figure your way around it. You do get mood lighting, a bit of ambient lighting, which is nice. That you can either change it with the driving modes, or you can't see it too well because it's too light at the moment. You can change it with the driving modes, or you can just change it to your own particular tastes. Now, let me speak about the more boring elements of the interior, such as the practicality. So the door bins are of a good size. I've got a 1 litre bottle in there with space left over for a few snacks. A little tray here where you can put your smartphone. You don't get wireless phone charging as standard, but you do get it as standard on the VZ3, if I'm not mistaken. You've also got 2 USB ports, which are Type-C. 2 smaller slots here, you can pop some smaller items. 2 cup holders in the middle. Storage underneath the centre armrest, and as you can see, you've got a 12-volt socket as well. And last but not least, you do get a glove box, which offers a decent amount of space. Getting a good driving setup is easy. The steering wheel, as you would expect, adjusts for rake and reach like so, which makes getting a good driving setup a doddle. Yes, the driver's seat hasn't got electronic adjustment. Like I say, you'd have to get the VZ3 for that. I think I mentioned that earlier. But the manual adjustment in this is absolutely fine. So I've got no problem there. Let me step into the rear, and I can show you rear space. Now, as always, the driver's seat has been set for me. I'm 6'2", so I am, of course, a taller chap. Even so, the space back here is pretty good. Let me step in, take the weight off my feet. There we go. No, I'll leave the door open actually. So I've got a good amount of knee room, and I've also got a good amount of leg room as well. Headroom isn't too shabby either, so if I turn you around, the lighting may be a bit iffy. It is. So as you can see, I've got a few centimetres spare. Now, it may be a bit too tight to fit 3 adults in the rear, but for 2 adults it'll be just fine. And of course you do get ISOFIX points if you're more concerned about carrying children. In regard to practicality in the rear, that is pretty good because you've got door bins that are of a good size. That bottle is 500 millilitres, although I reckon you can fit in the 1 litre bottle in the front in here as well. Well, not both of them at the same time, but that instead, if you get what I mean. You've got map pockets, a hook either side where you can hang up an item of clothing. You've got 2 USB ports in the rear, so those in the back can charge their smart devices whilst on the move. And you also get an armrest for added comfort, which has 3 cup holders, 2 normal sized ones and 1 for an energy drink. You've also got 3-zone climate control, so those in the rear can choose how hot or cold they want to be. I like that. Well done, Cupra. Good stuff. As you can see, there is quite a thick transmission tunnel running down the middle, so if there is someone sat in the middle seat, they'll have to straddle it, and it won't be the most comfortable seating position. So yes, I'd say really this is best served as a 2+2, not a 5-seater. But you can put someone in the middle, but you may not want to. Lovely stuff. One thing I will say, you do have dark roof lining in here, so it can feel just a tad dingy, but I wouldn't say it's a massive issue. As always, the boot is filled with my filming crap, but I will cut to a clip where the boot is empty. The boot is pretty good. It's not the largest in its class, but you do get 380 litres to play with. But if you need more space, you can of course fold down the 60/40 rear seats to give you 1,210 litres. You do also have a ski chute, so if you want to load longer items through the middle of the car, such as skis, or perhaps you've been to B&Q and you've got yourself some wood, you can do so. The only downside of the boot is there is quite a drop into it, so it has got quite a lip to it. So yes, if you want to load bigger, heavier items or dogs, that may be a little bit of a faff. You do get a hook either side, so you can hang up bags. And you also get a spare wheel as standard, which is a bit of a luxury nowadays. But yes, the boot is pretty good. It's just a bit deep. One thing I will say, the tailgate is quite heavy, and I'm not exactly a weakling, but you do need to give it a good slam, and it takes a bit of energy to kind of get it to swing down into its closed position. Not a hardship, but just something I think that is worth noting, because to live with the car day to day, the amount of times I've I've thought I've closed it and I haven't. I need to come back, give it a good old thud to get it closed. Some of you may want to know about that. Where did I put my little tripod? I think I've put that on the front passenger seat, haven't I? Now, at this point, I haven't touched upon fuel economy. I'm sure many of you aren't too fussed about such things, but there may be some of you that do want to know how frugal this car is or isn't. So on a combined run, Cupra states that you can achieve around 36 mpg. It all depends on which alloys you've got and the spec. So you're looking at somewhere between, I think the official figures are between 35.8 and 37.2. So yeah, let's cut it down the middle and say around 36. In regard to CO2 emissions, this emits 171 grams per kilometre, which I think is pretty respectable given the potency this car offers. That means for the first year of VED, you'll be required to pay £895. In regard to insurance groups, this is insurance group 33. Now, if you want to get this car on finance, if you were to put down a 10% deposit, you would be paying around £450 a month over 48 months. And that is with an APR of 3.8, if I'm not mistaken. If all of those figures are correct, I'd be astounded because that is from memory. But yes, not the cheapest car on the monthlies, but of course, I'm sure a dealership can do you a deal and you can always put down a larger deposit as well. I think that was a PCP as opposed to, so I think you'd have a balloon payment at the end as opposed to just paying to eventually own the car, if that makes sense. I know you can do it on a PCP, but like I say, at the end of a PCP, you have a large balloon payment to pay. But yes, I will just take you around the car one more time because why not? It is a lovely day. It is a lovely looking car. I think it would be rude not to. A big thank you to Cupra UK for supplying me this car for the week. I haven't driven it as much as I would have liked to have done because I've just been so busy, but when I have driven it, believe me, I have enjoyed it thoroughly. There would of course be a review, oh, get your words, Aaron. There would of course be a review coming, there we go, where I will actually be driving the car. These videos are just my walk around, so this is more a static, in-depth review, just whilst the car is just sitting here. But there will be a video where you actually get to see the car being driven. Yes, but I think it is time for me to end. So I do hope you have enjoyed this video or found it useful. If so, be sure to like, comment and subscribe. If you are subscribed, don't forget to click the bell icon so you get notified every time I make a video. But until the next time guys, be sure to keep up the car obsession.